Hey guys, Cynical here. We've had 10 years of Dead by Daylight, a massive milestone, a literal decade of horror history, and a highly anticipated arrival of none other than Jason Voorhees. This should have been the greatest celebration in the game's history, but instead, behavior gave us the Black Banquet, and it is arguably one of the most mechanically broken, painfully one sided events we have ever seen in the history of the game. Let's look at the mechanics to begin with. An anniversary event is supposed to be fun and wacky, but it still needs to function. In the Black Banquet, survivors are running around with literal invulnerability, invisibility, free heals, temporary pallets just by interacting with morsels and tables, not to mention invincible pallets for a full 60 seconds anytime a table has been completed. Meanwhile, what do killers get? A sluggish, boring ass poison effect that might help secure a single hit or down if the survivor doesn't just activate an event granted sprint burst or invisibility cue. It's fundamentally unfun to play against. The mechanics aren't just wacky, they are actively disrupting the basic rules of the trial. But let's talk about how this actually feels for killer players. Because right now, playing killer in this event is pure psychological torture. This event has effectively locked players out of more than half the available killer roster. If you aren't playing a top tier, high mobility, anti loop killer like Nurse, Blight, or Spirit, or one hit killer that could work with the poison like Bubba, you're essentially a glorified punching bag. Think about it. If you want to play a classic M1 or lower tier killer like the Trapper, Michael Myers, or even Freddy, you're completely dead in the water. These killers rely entirely on map pressure, tiles, and basic chase mechanics, all of which this event completely destroys. Take the creamy pasta dish for example. As an M1 killer, your entire game is about forcing survivors to drop resources. You finally play a tile perfectly, forced them to drop a god pallet, forced them to drop maybe Shack pallet, and spend precious seconds breaking it. But because they have completed the table with a creamy pasta, the pallet gets instantly rebuilt in your face. It becomes unbreakable, and you are literally punished for doing your job, completely wiping out any map pressure you manage to crawl your way into. And don't even get me started on the bait camembert. You spend 45 seconds committing to a grueling chase, closing the distance inch by inch only for the survivor to dive into an event portal and trigger complete invisibility. They break line of sight instantly, vanish into thin air, and you're left there swinging at ghost notes while the gens fly in the background. High mobility killers can at least catch up to that nonsense. But if you're playing a 4.4 or 4.6 killer with no map traversal, the chase is just over. You instantly lose that chase. The gap between high tier and low tier killers was already wide, but the Black Banquet event just completely broke it. It punishes you for wanting to play the characters you love, forcing a stale, sweaty meta where you have to pick S tier killers just to feel like you have even a slight, remote chance at playing the game. This brings us to why this is an absolute disaster for the actual health of DBD. An asymmetrical game relies on a delicate ecosystem. When you make one side vastly more frustrating to play and completely unviable for half the roster, what happens? Killer players stop queuing. Matchmaking times for survivors skyrocket. The matches people do get turn into the most toxic sweatfest you will ever see. Survivors are forced to sweat because they want to get their event rewards. And they want to stack up blood points. They want to get their event offerings. while killers are forced to play like their lives depend on it just to counter the ridiculously absurd event powers. This event completely strips away the standard gameplay loop and replaces it with an unbalanced mess that completely ruins the core competitive integrity of the game. But worst of all, this event is bad for us, the players. For a 10th anniversary, the community wanted to come together and celebrate a game we've loved for a decade. Instead, this event has driven an even deeper wedge between killer and survivor mains. Survivors are frustrated because killers are resorting to hard tunneling, camping, and ultra sweaty builds just to deal with the event's ridiculous survival tools. Meanwhile, killers are miserable because they feel completely powerless in their own trials. Nobody is actually having a good time, and it transforms what should be a massive celebration into just 3 weeks of pure, exhausting frustration. Behavior knocked it out the park with the roadmap and license reveals this year, but the Black Banquet event completely missed the mark entirely. If you want a healthy player base for the next 10 years, you cannot balance an event like this and completely alienate one half of your player base. But what do you guys think? Have your killer matches been completely unplayable, or are you actually finding a way to survive the banquet? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more DBD breakdowns and more DBD gameplay, and I'll see you out there. Hopefully not getting blinded by an invisible survivor. Peace out, and remember guys, stay cynical.